Did you see him get thumped this week? Yeah, so I'm taking off my coat, too much coffee. And I think that's great because, you know, I love that. I like to see the heroes struggle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I am really short. So the Wraith, I think they're an amazingly cool villain. They just sort of glide in and kill people, epic. Shepard.
Like my in-laws.
Shepard names them all, of course, and he feeds one in an effort to develop the Hoffen drug. But what about the relationship with Todd? How did you feel about that whole development?
Todd was attractive. Todd, you know, I thought that was an interesting, we didn't plan on it going that direction. And that gives credit to Chris Hardall, who played that character. He played it with such kind of complexity that we're like, oh, that's a kind of a real character. It would be interesting actually if they had to actually work together to do something in the future. And I think it's a great angle to go down to where all bad guys are bad guys and all good guys are good guys. It's nice to kind of get into the nuances of it. And it was very interesting though because I was the only American on the show. And I remember that when we were about to shoot this scene where he's in prison and the scene was changed. Originally, it was pretty tough, and we had just gotten busted for Abu Ghraib in Iraq. And I was like, I'm walking around with the US military thing, with a US thing, and I'm kind of torturing somebody in a jail cell, and I was like, I think we better rethink that one. This is a little sensitive issue there. And so, you know, we tried to get into more of a psychological thing. And, you know, when I brought that up, it was interesting. I realized, you know, that they were Canadian and I was American because they weren't aware that that could be an issue. And I was like, oh yeah. In case you didn't know, when I'm an American and travel to the Middle East, I'm like, that was my plane leave, you know? So they just weren't aware. And it was kind of interesting. One cool thing about science fiction is you can talk about every political issue in the world, but it's kind of hidden in this science fiction veneer. And so, and that's what they said, and it's true. So you can do all this stuff and people would not get the insinuation at all. And so that's why I say science fiction is as profound as you want it to be, or not. But the beauty of it is, of our show, and I thought that was important, is not hitting people over the head with a message. The message is there if you want to read into it, but we're not here to teach you something. And I like that because I can't stand shows or movies that hit me over the head telling me I should, you know, have a different opinion about something. I'm like, I'll have a different opinion. I'll read the newspapers. I'll watch the documentaries. That's my source of information. Your entertainment, and try to stick to that. So there.
Cool.
I like Todd. Todd's a good guy.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have time for about one more question if anybody wants to ask. I see someone is considering it.
I heard that there was supposed to be the new Stargate movie that ended up getting canceled. Do you think you would have enjoyed seeing that come out to see a kind of continuation for the ended series?
Oh, you mean our Stargate movie?
Yeah.
Because you know there is another Stargate movie they're talking
like
about.
4.
No. There's a Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin who did the original movie.
Yeah, I know.
That one hasn't been canceled, has it?
No, the Atlantis movie.
Oh, yeah, of course I was disappointed. I mean, the whole concept was that we were actually going to finish the show. I mean, we ended on a completely absurd note. We're floating above San Francisco, for Christ's sakes. What are we doing? It was so ridiculous. And, you know, everybody was like, why did the show end that way? Because the show wasn't supposed to really end that way. The episode that they should have used for the end of the show should have been Vegas, because that was far more definitive and it would have made people realize, oh, there is some finality here, but then it triggers possibly a new storyline, maybe. But I can't even remember the name of the last episode. What was it?
Enemy at the Gate.
Is that the last one? Okay. Yeah, it was weird. Completely weird. And in case you didn't notice, to come full loop back to Shepard's really bad romantic life, everybody walks out in the patio on the railing. At the end, it's like the last shot of the last show, and everybody's got a girlfriend. You notice that? Jewel is with... Bad choice. Even friggin' Ronan has a girlfriend. And I'm like, doo-doo-doo. And I thought, and they got me floating above San Francisco. What does this mean? So I thought it was Joe and Paul didn't think the show was going to end on that note. I don't think any of us did. So there's plenty to explore. It should still be done. Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich are going to try to do a movie. They never liked the TV show. But I think a lot of that had to do with a revenue issue. Because Roland Emmerich was in our studio during the last season shooting 2012, is that what it was called? He did some big science fiction show called 2012, I think. Which is such a bad idea to always name a movie after a year, because once it's done, you're like, oop, done. So I remember, apparently he came in upstairs to the producer and handed him a note saying, you owe me $17 million. Make the check payable to Roland Emmerich. I think in his mind, he should have deserved some of the revenue off of the TV show, and they never got any because they actually didn't own it. The studio owned it, and the studio did what they wanted to do with their premise. That was their premise, the whole gate, the whole thing. So now that they have it, and by the way, after the show ended, I made a very concerted effort to buy the franchise. I got a group of investors, and I had a verbal agreement to lease the show for a long time. And because I thought this show can go on for much longer. Then MGM went bankrupt, then they were reconfigured with Spyglass. I went to Spyglass, and Spyglass said, no, we're not gonna lease that show. We don't know what we're gonna do with it. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you? And I guess, now they think that it'll be retooled as a big movie. I don't think the movie has nearly as many fans as the TV show, so I'm not entirely sure what the point of it is. But movies are sexier. So, you may get a car that actually is a better car, but it may not look as sexy. So they want to jump in the sexier car, but it may break down, or they can't go down certain roads. And I think that is a mistake, that they're trying to make a movie pretending the TV show didn't even happen. So that's going to be really weird. So they're going to be asking people to go watch Stargate as though the TV show doesn't have 300 episodes floating around. Good luck, So, anyway, you bet. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Flannigan.
We'll see you again. Thank you. Thank you.
Woo!